What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Break That Down. Today I have Megan Allen with us, and she has absolutely been crushing it lately. I'm sure you guys have saw her actual Instagram takeover. She actually had one of the most liked images on our account ever, all time. Okay, so she's got some awesome information she's going to share with you. Go through 5 of her top images, and just explain to you, how she shot them, what her mindset was going into it, and then we're going to ask her what would she change if she could actually go back and change something now that everything is done. But Megan, her studio is Studio 22 Photography, so make sure you guys check her out, and I will have her post links afterwards and tell you where you guys can find more information about her. But I don't want to waste any more of your time. Megan, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to do this with you. I think it's going to be fantastic. So let's get into your first image. You want to go ahead and share your screen with us?
Absolutely. Here we go. All right. So I think this is the image that you were talking about. Everybody seemed to enjoy. So this is the first image. The way I picked the images, I actually kind of like tossed a bunch out to the Facebook world and let people kind of tell me which ones they thought would be interesting to see the deconstruct. So that's kind of where we got the 5 that we're going to go over today. This is one that gets a lot of questions. So this is an image in Columbus, Ohio. This bridge is very, very popular, and most photographers, if you've been in Columbus, you know where this is. It's very photographed. So when I went in, I actually was inspired by a friend who had shot there. I have a couple friends who have shot there, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't make the same photo that they had done. So for this image, the way that it's done, the railings are actually glass. So all of the reflections on either side are just the glass railing. And then the floor is super reflective. I don't know if it's glass, but it's just very reflective. And all of the lighting, the uplighting is already there. It changes colors every few minutes. It's an amazing spot. So I got there and it was about blue hour. And I had them go down to the very end of the tunnel. And the end of the tunnel is actually really not that cute. It's a gross gray wall. It's got writing on it. So what I did is I put a Nikon SB5000 behind them, had a Magmod Magsphere behind them, and I pointed it at the wall. Then I just powered it full power, blasted it. I used a 35 millimeter to get a wide angle, and I laid on the ground. And then to get the reflection, it was already starting to reflect in the floor, but I wanted to make sure that I would get their heads, and I wanted to also highlight the ceiling again in the bottom. So I pulled out a trick that I learned from Two Man Studios, which is to use my phone. So I made sure that the phone was, turned off, and it was just the black reflective, and I just smashed it right up against the lens of the camera and started firing. And I shot at a lot of different angles, but I just loved the complete symmetry and reflective qualities of this angle, which is why I went with this image.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was a fun one to shoot. If I could change anything, I would probably, and I think I could probably do it in post still, but try to brighten up the bottom just a little bit to make it even more symmetrical. And I wish that I wouldn't have cut the gentleman's head off in the reflections on the side. So I would have figured out how to get a little bit lower just to get the top of his head. Some of those nitpicky things you see after it's all done.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So the next one we have, this was the first time I'd ever tried a composite. I'm always looking at other photographers to be inspired, and I'm always inspired by Ryan Brenizer. And he does so many of these incredible composites with the bridal parties. And so I'm always floored by it. And this venue is so dark. It's in Cincinnati. It's an amazing place, but it's just always dark, so you have to use flash. We had some extra time before the ceremony started, and I was just like, hey guys, they were already playing pool. And so, thought came to me. I was like, let's try this. And so it's actually a 7-image composite. Each gentleman is their own image, and then the light and the pool table is the 7th image. And I just had a bridesmaid walk around, and I had a Nikon SB5000 and then a Magmod sphere and grid. And she walked around and aimed it at each face, and then I masked them in to make the final image. So that's how that one went. If I was going to change anything, I look and the gentleman, I'm pointing at it like you guys can see me pointing. The second gentleman from the right, he's a little soft. And so I don't know if I had moved like my focus or something, but every time I look at this image, I'm like, dang it, he's soft. I like the image enough that I still use it. I love it. So yeah, I would have paid a little bit more attention, and I probably would have done a little bit different ISO just so that the grain on the pool table isn't quite as noticeable. But again, it's things in post that, you wish you would have done differently. So
yeah, I remember so many different times where I've had my lens and it'll be on my, strap or whatever hanging on my side. And for some reason, the way that it hangs and at the level that it hangs, it'll hit the focus button and turn it to manual focus. And so I'll have like my 70 to 200 or whatever, and I'll start shooting, and you really can't tell when you're looking through a 70 to 200 if it's like, because it's so far.
Yeah.
And I got home and I'm like, how did I literally miss focus on every single one of these? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It happens to the best of us,
Yep, absolutely. So this third one is one of my favorite images. Again, this was actually the first day that I had my Interfit strobes, and so I was excited to get to play with them. And this gentleman is a photographer as well. He's super talented, and he's a senior photographer. So I knew going into his wedding that, one, he was going to let me kind of get a little more creative and be crazy and trust the process more, which is always fun. And then I just really wanted to play with the lighting in it. And of course, in true photographer fashion, he decides that he wants to do his groomsmen photos at high noon on the rooftop of this building. So I was like, thanks, man. Let's do this. So yeah, I had an assistant at this wedding, and I loved this concept. I don't know who I'd seen. I don't know if I'd definitely seen this specific type of image, but I know that I've seen people do different things like this. And so this was the first time I'd ever tried to do this. So I apologize if you inspired me and I don't remember your name. But I was inspired. So I just had them, we're on the roof of this building, and I just laid down on the ground and aimed upwards. So the first image, this is a 2-image composite. The first image, they're all silhouetted. Even Josh, the groom, is. And then the second image, I had my assistant come in, and he's standing to the right of my groom. It's an Interfit S1 studio strobe. They're fantastic. I absolutely love them. And it's a Octabox, but I forget the exact size. But it was an Octabox. And so I had it at a half power and just, overpowered the sun. The sun is directly above them. You can see it on the tops of their heads. And so then in post, I used the silhouetted one as the base layer and then masked out my assistant and the light. And then, just had the illuminated face put on Josh's head. So we just swapped heads. Nice. If I was going to change something about this one, I would probably have stopped down even more just to make them complete silhouettes instead of having just a little bit of illumination. And the tops of the flowers bugs me now. So I might, after we get off of this, go down and burn them. So, right. But yeah, nitpicky wise, I like that. And I would have liked to have gotten a wider shot as well, if I could go back and do it again, just make them much smaller, much more sky.
Right.
So yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love how you're always thinking in these layers, and then you just make them happen with your composite work. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do this because I can.
Yeah. It makes me sad though, because a lot of my favorite images I can't submit to different competitions like Fearless, just because they're multiple images. So it's always sad, but I love getting tricky and doing things. I love that Photoshop and post-production allows us to do things that are a little bit more in depth when possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this next one is actually the same wedding. This is Josh and Drea together, and they love urban things, and they actually got married at a venue that was across the street from this one, but this one was in their reconstruction period, and they were kind enough to let us in with everything still just, dirty and in the process. So these are actually archways that are down at the bottom of this venue now. And so what I did for this is my assistant got low behind them with the Interfit. just a regular reflector on it. And then he sprayed an obscene amount of atmosphere aerosol. We were all choking on it by the end.
Yeah.
So just an obscene amount of that. And he has it angled up around their waist level. And I want to say it was at like a 16th power. It really wasn't too powerful. And then I just crouched, and the aerosol kind of bounced the light around them to illuminate them a little bit more than just a standard backlight. So I really like this image. There really wasn't too much to it. It's just one of those images where you look at it and you're like, oh, that actually did turn out better than what, you thought it would. So yeah, I really enjoy this image. Again, if I could change anything about this, I shot this a lot of different ways. So I feel like I did as much as humanly possible with this one. This was just the one that I liked the most. I would have liked to have gotten back further, because I could have gone to the other side of the other archway and gotten a wider shot. My goal is always to, get high, get low, get near, get far. So I shot this at pretty much just that same distance. I would have gotten back and gotten more of that like environmental shot. But otherwise, this one was pretty straightforward, so it wasn't too much that I could have really changed in the instance. So yeah.
Very cool. How far back was your assistant with that light?
He was about 3 feet behind him. His back was against the wall. It was a really tiny, it wasn't that big of a space, so there wasn't a lot of room to work in. But yeah, he's down on the ground. He's sitting, and his back is against the wall, and it was about 2.5 to 3 feet behind them. Very cool. Yeah.
Love that.
And yeah.
Something so simple and such a, you got a nice clean background, and it's super symmetrical because of that archway. And I think that the atmosphere aerosol really makes this super moody and kind of gives the exact vibe, Yeah,
it's just a little bit different. And my big thing is, this is a shot that everybody can go out and make. So it's not necessarily a difficult shot, but it's just that aerosol, like you said, just kind of adds a little bit more. And I love their aerosol, because you can add so much mood to a shot with just a little bit of that spray.
Yeah. So. Very cool.
For sure. And then the final one is one that I shot actually during WPPI. Nice. I snuck out one night, and so I went out to Valley of Fire with a couple that was game to go wander. We shot around a little bit. This was right at sunset, blue hour was setting in. And I just had them, I really wanted a cool sunset. The sunset wasn't as epic as it appears in this photo, which I'm sure is no surprise. But it definitely had those colors, but I knew I could pull it in post. So with this one, I made sure that I shot very, very cold to ensure that I could get the blue out of the sky. And then I put a warming gel behind the couple. I want to say it was like a quarter, because the rocks are already very, very red there. So you don't have to do too much. So that's just a mag sphere with a little bit of a warming gel on it. And then I exposed for the sky and just shot accordingly to get their silhouette. And then again, I put my phone up against my lens. However, I will say that it wasn't turning out super, super fantastic, the reflection. So when I went into post, I kind of sharpened it, and then I moved it up with another layer to make it a little bit more symmetrical, because I was a little cockeyed with it. So there's a little Photoshop magic in that one, instead of just straight iPhone reflection.
Right.
And then, so that was pretty much how it was. The light for that one is like right up against them. Because they're really, really close to that rock. So, I mean, it's not even it's like a half a foot away from them. If I could change anything about this photo, I would have probably gotten more sky instead of like an exact even reflection. Mm-hmm. I didn't get anything like super wide. I'm always bad about like honing in on that medium range and then not getting those big people or big world little people pictures, although that's not like the most terrible thing. But yeah, I try to get varying distances, and sometimes I hone in and like forget to get other distances. So yeah, I would have been a little bit more diligent in shooting every situation with that.
Love it. Yeah. So what I really like about this is that, because like you used the sphere on that flash, you said?
Yes, I did. Hang on just a second. Hey buddy, mommy's doing an interview right now, okay? Okay. Yes, you may.
Gotta love
Right,
kids.
food. Yes, go eat.
What I love is that because of the way that you used your modifiers behind them, you have a nice blast of light behind them instead of it just being a lot of people will just do a little tiny circle behind the heads and then you lose their bodies and like the rest of their form.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that I don't know if you did that intentionally or not, but I love that you did it,
Yeah. Yeah. I always want to try to get the full bodies if possible for that reason, just because I'm terrible. If I try to aim for just the heads, I cut something off. So,
Yeah.
I like the full body silhouettes, especially if the other thing about silhouettes too is, and it's one thing that Lanny and Erica have really like pounded for me is like trying to get the movement. Cause obviously silhouettes, there's only so much you can do with them. But if you can get just a little bit of movement with the bodies, it tells a little bit more, you know what I mean, of a story instead of just stationary. So, yeah.
Sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to find out more about your work, where should they go? Your social media and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So if you want to hang out, that'd be awesome. I am at Instagram is at Studio22 Photography. Twitter, I'm not on there very much, so don't count on me to respond, but it's at Studio22 Photo. And then my website is www.choosestudio22.com. So yeah.
Awesome. Looks like your screen's frozen, so people get to see me twice.
There we go.
I'm sure they hate me. Well, thanks again for doing this. And guys, make sure that if you have any questions, go ahead and comment on the video. And we'll have Megan in there answering all your questions. We'll have her post as well for all the different links that she just mentioned. And check out the pinned post at the top of the group because we have a list of our upcoming Instagram takeovers as well as the upcoming Break That Down series. All right. I will see you all next time. Thanks again.
Thank you.